Hey everyone! Today I want to touch on a very interesting topic about dreams. I was inspired to record this video by a fascinating article discussing how some people, who not so long ago got themselves injected with the magical juice from the globalists, the one meant to protect against that illness, whose name can't really be spoken, and like Voldemort, have been experiencing some strange, anxious states connected to their dreams. These people started having frequent nightmares. Their dreams became restless, chaotic. There was all kinds of weird stuff happening in their sleep, and they began waking up feeling totally drained. They stopped getting proper rest, and they have no idea what it might be related to. For me, honestly, it wasn't such a shocking piece of news, because, first of all, I already have a sense of what's in that magical water, and second, I understand what dreams really are. So in a way, these consequences are pretty logical and expected. Let's start by talking about dreams in general, or especially for those of you who might not know me, or who are new to my channel. My name is Nadezhda. I've been a clairvoyant since childhood. I see the subtle plane, what some of you call the astral realm. I see entities there. I can read information from the energy information field. I'm also a very strong empath, and I've never had my abilities blocked. I grew up thinking I had lots of access that others often don't. I saw angels, guardians, many things. And what I want to share now is my personal vision and experience that I've acquired through life. My personal view of dreams, and what I think they really are. Maybe something you've never heard before, because my perspective on dreams is almost the total opposite of what most people out there say about them. Let's go. First of all, in my childhood, I tried to understand how dreams work, and like many people, I turned to these so-called dream dictionaries, which claim to predict our future based on dreams. I did a bit of experimenting. I tried to see if that made any sense, and I quickly realized it was complete nonsense. That's the conclusion I reached. Now, if anyone wants to object and say, "Oh, Nadezhda, you don't understand anything," just hear me out. As someone who from an early age could basically shape reality and energy, who understood how timelines function, and how you can rewrite what some people call fate, although I dislike that term, I was always aware of how to change my circumstances entirely. I know how to use intention to influence my own reality. That's another topic, but here I'm focusing on dreams. From my point of view, having observed energy systems, the timeline scheme, and so on, and having tried to match that to what people say about dreams, like that they warn us about the future or show us the future, I realized it's basically nonsense. We don't actually see the future via dreams. I kept looking to see if maybe dreams reflected something else, something connected to the subtle physics of our worlds, and I'm talking about the subtle, plain physics that I see. And I concluded that dreams mostly look like junk that doesn't clearly reflect anything. After a while, I got tired of pondering it, so I gave up studying dreams. Still, I continue to notice certain recurring locations in my dreams, or repeated scenarios, which made me think these places really do exist somewhere on the subtle plane. It was clear that some of these scenes in my dreams were a genuine reflection of certain realities, but always blended in with a bunch of weird nonsense. It took me a while to figure out why some parts of a dream reflect something real, and other parts are just random illusions. There were also those times when I'd have a dream within a dream, where I'd wake up, walk around, seemingly fully conscious, and then realize I was still dreaming, and to wake up again, maybe 5 or 6 times in a row. I kept trying to break out of the dream, but it felt like something was pulling me back into different scenarios. I remember thinking that such experiences felt artificial, like someone or something was trapping me in those dream layers. But at that time, I couldn't fully figure out what it was. Only much later, when I'd basically stopped analyzing my dreams, and especially around 2020, when I was very actively disconnecting from my attachments at Hokojuchiki, I began to truly realize what the structure of dreams was. and what was being slipped into my mind during sleep. I started to decode those previously nonsensical dream images as if I were cracking nuts, and I saw that the usual Dream Dictionary stuff was pure nonsense. But I also noticed that certain symbols do appear in people's dreams quite commonly, and they do have a real meaning, just not in the way dream dictionaries say. In reality, dreams aren't core subconscious warning us, nor are they higher powers talking to us, showing or gifting us something, or warning us of dangers so that we don't go to certain places. Yes, sometimes we might receive real information through dreams. There is a very small group of people who can truly journey in dreams, who can leave their body and go into the subtle plane to see things or do work there. And yes, there are also a very small number of dreams that convey direct information from our own soul, authentic warnings or glimpses. But that is literally 0.1% of all the random stuff we see night after night. The other 99.99% is basically a contract or a scenario forced on us by certain entities. In simpler terms, it's not your subconscious drawing these pictures. It's external forces feeding images into your dreams. Many people who set out to cancel their connections or break certain attachments notice that, in their dreams, they start getting hammered with attempts to push them back into old contracts. They discover that it isn't their departed relatives coming to speak to them, but rather entities trying to pull them back into certain deals. Plenty of people have told me these stories, and I've experienced it myself back in tutti years. The pattern is quite obvious. You decide to break a contract and say, I'm done with this, I'm cutting it off. And then a few days or even the same night, you have a dream where someone appears, maybe a person from your past trying to coax you back. Come on, why don't you come back to me? Let's be friends again. Why are you leaving? And so on. You might not have thought about that person for 10 years, but suddenly they show up in your dream, looking exactly like they did back then, almost begging you to return. Then you wake up and realize, oh wow, I just started severing my connection with that negative attachment or that toxic memory from 10 years ago, and here comes the dream trying to rope me back in. It happens often when people are trying to leave some kind of egregore or break away from some group or belief system. They'll dream about a festival or gathering run by that same egregore, and in the dream everyone's saying, don't go. Stay with us. Look how nice everything is. And then they're basically trying to recruit you again. Some people even start realizing right in the dream that they're dealing with an entity, not just a real person, that something is trying to keep them from leaving. Sometimes they even get attacked in the dream. Maybe you've heard about that kind of experience, or perhaps you've had it yourself. Where you're in your home, house, or apartment, doesn't matter, and random strangers or shady characters barge in. You ask, who are you? What's your name? And they answer with some bizarre alphanumeric code like 35007B, and you're left totally confused. I had a funny one while I was breaking off certain attachments, a dream about a man chasing me. I was running away from him and telling him, you have no power over me, get lost, and I felt this huge sense of joy as I escaped. He tried to catch me, then he tried to attack me, but ended up breaking his own leg, and he was screaming for help, and I was like, no thanks, I'm not helping you. In the dream, his name was Seriosios a Sergey. Later, I told someone else about it, and that person said, oh my gosh, I also had a dream at my place. A man in a black shirt and black pants, also named Serioso, just sitting there with a suitcase looking gloomy, asking really, you're kicking me out. Maybe you'll change your mind. She ended up telling him to leave, and his name was also Sergey, which made no sense. No offense to anyone named Sergey. These are just the forms these entities choose, right? In essence, these are attachments. You might see weird alphanumeric codes or random names in your dream. It's common for them to barge into your apartment, which represents your personal energy space. If you dream about your own home, even if the place is different from your real home, but in the dream you know it's yours, that actually represents your energy field. The condition of that dream, home, like whether it's tidy or messy, if the decor is old or new, if the wallpaper is torn, can show you the state of your actual energy. If you see a bunch of unknown shady figures in your house, that's a sign there are questionable entities roaming around your energy field. If you see, for instance, dirty water or cold, murky water, or you're swimming in strange water, it's not a good sign. Water in dreams often corresponds to the watery zones of the dark side on the subtle plane. It can mean that one of your subtle bodies might be stuck somewhere it shouldn't be, or that something or someone is pulling you into a negative environment. Similarly, going down a staircase isn't great, while going up a staircase is usually good. Another common dream scenario is that you're in a tall building full of apartments and different people, or maybe back in your old school or university. That often represents the world, or universe itself in symbolic form. From the script of that dream, you can glean what's going on around you in a broader sense. If the dream events feel really dark or threatening, like being chased, that likely reflects a direct contract or attempt to get you to agree to something. If someone in your dream is trying to make you sign papers or accept something they're offering, that's almost definitely a contract being pushed on you. Based on my experiences and the stories people have told me, 99.9% of these dreams are about contracts. Even if some kindly grandfather on a cloud appears with a beautiful sparkly creature that merges with your body, that's usually a bad sign. They're showing you a theatrical illusion to slip you something under the guise of it's a good thing. Actually, you've just agreed to let something attach to your field. Nobody, lovely or helpful, is going to forcefully embed itself in you. You need to cancel all of that. Any time you dream weird stuff, do not agree to it, even if you wake up thinking it was just a silly dream, because in reality it can be a contract. People often say, "Oh, my dream was warning me about something." Let me share a personal story. There was a time I had to make a big decision. I was on the fence. Should I do it or leave things as they are? And then I had this dream that basically said, don't do it. If you change anything, something terrible will happen. And it came with such a strong emotional jolt that I woke up feeling urgent fear, thinking I mustn't do it. For the first 5 seconds, I almost believed it was some higher power guiding me. But because I don't fall for that, I shook it off and thought, wait, what was that emotion? That's not mine. Let me see who sent me this dream. Now, I know many of you might say, but we can't do that. We don't read the subtle plane like you do. I understand. However, this example shows how it usually goes. Well, once I set my intention to see who was behind that dream. Warning, I felt strong resistance, like they didn't want to be revealed. I pushed harder and eventually forced it to show itself, and guess what, it was a hideous demon-like reptilian face, definitely not some kindly grandfather in white robes. It had tried to pretend to be a celestial figure, but that disguise fell apart when I pressed it. So yeah, I quickly realized that it didn't have my best interests at heart. From my perspective, we're not actually supposed to dream in the way we do, especially those film strip dreams we see every night. Many people who remove their attachments eventually stop dreaming in that manner. You might notice that during certain magical holidays, like we had not too long ago, dreams can get worse with intense attacks. People often say they wake up several times a night or have crazy nightmares filled with chaos or violence and they can't ignore it anymore. I've explained in the past that these festive days or magical holidays aren't designed to help us. They exist to harvest energy from us, to shear the sheep, so to speak. And when we get pulled into those events, it's understandable we want to celebrate or share joy with others. It's not that we shouldn't be happy or kind to people. Absolutely, go for it any day of the year. I'm just pointing out that on those special days, attacks through dreams can intensify dramatically. See, ideally when we sleep our consciousness should slip into one of our more subtle bodies and possibly explore higher realms. Some people do have actual astral experiences, like floating out their apartment window, flying over power lines, seeing their neighborhood from above, drifting through clouds. Maybe some of you had that as a child. Flying dreams. People say, oh, if you're flying in your dream, you must be growing. But actually it can mean that you really are out in the astral. That's how it's supposed to be. Your consciousness leaves the physical body to roam in a more subtle form. But for many of us, something blocks this natural transition, holding our consciousness in a kind of trap between physical and subtle. That's when these other entities step in, exploit that half limbo state, and rummage through our memories, like who we dated, which school we went to, etc. So they can produce a cinematic storyline jam packed with hidden contracts. They might even embed negative future scenarios, so that if we wake up believing in them, we effectively give permission for those events to manifest in the matrix. Dreams are a major tool for pushing these deals onto us because we often just nod along while asleep, unaware of what's happening. Those who start breaking off attachments begin noticing exactly what's going on in their dreams, sometimes even becoming lucid enough to chase these entities away, revoke any agreements, and sweep all that junk out of their consciousness, which I hope you all learn to do. And by the way, if you manage to get rid of these podkojochki and the dream entities that rummage through your head as if it were their own home, you'll also solve that feeling of constantly waking up exhausted, like a tractor ran over you, no matter how many hours you've slept. Many people complain about endless fatigue, needing to sleep more, yet never feeling rested, always dragging themselves through the day. That's also heavily connected to certain entities, especially sleep paralysis larvas. But let's talk about that in the next video, because this one is already quite long. So, to wrap up, there are no magical warnings or predictions of the future in these typical dreams. They're not your subconscious or your higher self sending hidden messages. Rather, they're a form of external manipulation. Subtle, plain entities messing with your mind, feeding you images and illusions. They do this to siphon your energy, to make you sign onto new contracts that often disguise as wonderful gifts or mystical events, and to lock certain scenarios onto your future timelines so that the matrix can generate negative outcomes and you'll go along with it because you dreamed it. If you say, oh, my dreams always come true, or this nightmare came to pass in real life, pause and ask yourself why. On that note, that's all I have for you today. I send you all a big hug and please cancel the negative dreams. Don't sign those contracts. Chase away anything suspicious with a firm broom. That's all for now. With love, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Become a member of my Telegram channel and discuss with like-minded people as a supporting club member.